Every single day your actions are guided by these powerful, invisible forces you probably don't even notice. Seriously, they decide how you dress, when you laugh, and yeah, even which way you face in an elevator. So today we're going to pull back the curtain on these hidden rules that run our lives. Just think about it for a second. When you step into an elevator, what's the first thing you do? You turn around and face the door, right? We all do it. But why? There's no sign, no law, no instruction manual telling us to. The very thought of just turning around to face the back wall, it probably feels super weird, right? A little awkward, maybe even stressful. Well, that hesitation, that little pang of, uh-oh, don't do that, that's the key. That's where our story begins because it reveals two incredibly powerful forces at play: conformity and social norm. So let's actually put a name to these feelings. What exactly are these forces that have us all staring at the same metal door in a tiny moving box? Okay, here's the breakdown. On one side, you've got conformity. Now, that's your personal, internal drive to tweak your own behavior to match the group's. It's what you do. On the other side, you have social norms. These are the group's shared, unwritten rules that are just there. They exist before you even show up. So think of it this way. Conformity is the act of following. Social norms are the invisible rules you're following. All right, now that we've got the names down, let's pop the hood and see what's really going on. What is happening inside our minds that makes us so incredibly willing to follow the crowd, often without a second thought? It really boils down to a couple of huge psychological drivers. First up is this deep-seated fear of standing out. We're social animals, right? And being singled out or excluded feels risky. That leads directly to the second driver, this powerful desire for acceptance. Fitting in just feels safe. It feels rewarding. And then there's uncertainty. When you're in a new situation and you just don't know what to do, what's your first instinct? You look around to see what everyone else is doing for clues. And when you repeat that behavior over and over, it just becomes the new obvious. It normalizes. And social norms, well, they work in this really simple but powerful sequence. It all starts with a shared expectation. We all just kind of assume we know how to behave. This norm then gets switched on by the situation. You act one way in a library and a completely different way at a party. Then it gets reinforced by all this subtle social feedback: an approving smile, a confused look, a raised eyebrow. And before you know it, the norm becomes so automatic, so familiar that it becomes invisible. It just feels like common sense. Okay, let's move from the theory to the real world. Because once you know what you're looking for, you start seeing these forces absolutely everywhere. Let's just run through a few classic examples. So picture this. You step onto a quiet commuter train. It's practically silent. Even if you're with a friend, you instinctively lower your voice to a whisper. There's no sign telling you to, but you know that breaking that silence would feel, well, just rude, right? Socially risky. That's a social norm in action, plain and simple. Or how about this one? You're with a group, someone tells a joke, and you just don't get it, but everyone else starts laughing. So what do? You probably let out a little laugh too. Your action isn't even about the joke anymore. It's about conforming, about staying connected to the group. And forming a line or a cue, this one is amazing. At a busy counter, a perfect, orderly line just appears. There are no ropes, no signs. The rule of the line is a pure social norm. It's like a collective hallucination. It only exists because every single person in that line agrees to believe it exists. Think about the end of a play. The applause starts. You join in. But you're also listening, right? You don't want to stop too early, and you definitely don't want to be that one person still clapping at the end. You're constantly reading the room and adjusting your own behavior to match the group's energy. That's pure real-time conformity. And look, these aren't just some casual observations I'm making. Psychologists have been studying these forces for decades, and they've run some of the most classic experiments in the field. So let's take a quick look at the science behind the scenes. Okay, these three pioneers really shine a light on how this all works. You've got Solomon Asch, who ran these incredible experiments showing that people would knowingly give a completely wrong answer about the length of a line just to avoid disagreeing with the group. Then there's Muzafer Sharif, who showed that in ambiguous situations, groups will literally invent a norm out of thin air and then stick to it like it's a fact. And finally, Irving Goffman, who framed all of social life as a kind of performance, where we're all just trying to play our parts correctly based on the social script. And this right here is the crucial takeaway, especially from Sharif's work. For a social norm to have power over us, it doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be right or even logical. It just has to be shared. That's it. If everyone believes in the rule, then the rule becomes real. Which brings us right back to where we started. The next time you're in an elevator and you feel that strange magnetic pull to face the door, or you find yourself laughing at a joke you didn't really get, now you'll know what that feeling is. It's the immense, invisible weight of conformity and social norms pressing down on you. So I'll leave you with a final thought to take with you. What unwritten rule did you follow today? And maybe more importantly, was it a rule that was actually worth following? The next time you feel that pull to just go with the flow, you'll know why, and you'll have a choice. Because once you start seeing the rules, you can decide which ones are worth breaking.